Being in the Arcane Odyssey, Grand Navy is never a pleasant experience. Like the real world of stratocracies, their ranks and government is built like a pyramid made of morons, all of them thinking that they are better than one another. The Grand Navy is the easiest way to make money as a warsea citizen, as they will hire virtually anybody, whether they be a former prisoner, a foreigner, or a regular Joe who wasn't lucky enough to be born as a magic user. A simple visit to the nearest Grand Navy base, a sign of a definitely fair and totally not sketchy contract, and now you are a Grand Navy Marine. Being the backbone of the Grand Navy, Marines are often subject to the most boring and menial task you could give to someone. Whether it being standing in the same spot in a brick prison dealing with mentally unstable prisoners, or standing in the same spot on a wooden prison dealing with mentally unstable bosses. The only time a Marine isn't standing around is when they are doing maintenance on a boat, manning a cannon, latrine duty, kitchen duty. Oh, and we can't forget risking your life trying to arrest a sentient magic user because he opened too many illegal chests. Yeah, it's why most Marines don't last a single year here. When a Marine survives a year in the Grand Navy, he or she is promoted to a Vice Captain, which is basically just a Marine, but bluer. See, it's mainly Astorian Marines who get promoted to Vice Captain due to the discriminatory nature of the Grand Navy's stratocracy. Stratocracy. Navy Marines who aren't Astorian are usually victims of hazing rituals and bullying, often given crazy dangerous orders that get them killed in their first month of duty. Yeah, all that I said was not canon. I'm going to add on to the lore to make it feel more immersive, because this is actually a common problem that most militaries suffer from. I'm going to tell you this now. 90% of this video is added immersion and is not canon. A vice captain's main duty is to kiss the ass of the captain who runs the ship. Sometimes, if you are lucky, you get your own ship which you're allowed to command. But unfortunately, everyone knows that vice captain-led ships are weak and usually get attacked by pirates. In Grand Navy fortresses, you are spared from latrine duty and you don't have to worry about making food to feed a fleet, but you're still required to stand guard. But in a more prestigious area. But it's okay! Anything to make yourself look like a hard worker. That way, the Commodore will definitely notice you. When a vice captain survives 4 years of active duty, they finally get the promotion of captain. Being a Grand Navy captain is like taking off a heavy backpack after a long day of walking, because now you are no longer receiving orders. Instead, you are giving them. You own your own ship, you manage your own crew, and you do your own missions, whether it be a patrol, a bounty hunt, or island protection. But you aren't truly free. Captains need to follow the orders from their officers, who look over the fleet that you are part in. And if a captain is lucky, they have to attend a meeting, or maybe stand guard in the Navy base in case of high alert, or do execution duty. But if a captain is unlucky, they may be ordered to bombard an island town for unexplained reasons. Yeah, this is the part of the Grand Navy experience where you usually discover that the Grand Navy isn't as do-good as you wished it was. The lieutenant rank is the first official officer rank of the Grand Navy, as explained from the shiny diamond in their insignia. That I totally did not add for immersion purposes. Grand Navy lieutenants aren't really expected to do any patrolling unless their superior combat abilities are desperately needed. Most Grand Navy lieutenants spend their days in the Grand Navy strongholds doing the administrative works, giving orders and goals to Grand Navy captains, deciding what island towns need protection over the other, and deciding what island towns need to be bombed. A Grand Navy major is like a military detective. Most of the time, you don't know where they are or where they'll show up. But all of the time, every Grand Navy officer must know to avoid them. A major job of the Grand Navy major is to seek out internal corruption and put an end to it no matter what. Whether it be discharging vice captains for their hazing rituals, or sacking a captain for putting his own crew at risk. Without majors, the Grand Navy would be a corrupt kingdom. Although technically the freest rank, this comes at the cost of being silently feared by all other ranks, especially officers, and especially the corrupt officers, since they know they administratively can't do anything about majors. So Grand Navy majors have to constantly look behind their back for potential syndicate assassins, hired by said corrupt officers. Majors are also tasked with bounty hunting certain powerful criminals, with them being rarely spotted in islands. You think War Sea citizens look up to admirals? Nope, they look up to majors. They are the true heroes that the War Seas need. The commander is like the lieutenant, but with more power and knowledge of how the Grand Navy works. They're like a manager in an office. While lieutenants do all of the paperwork, the commander has to do even more paperwork to know if their lieutenants are doing their paperwork properly, and commanders stress over this to the point where their hairline starts to recede. Despite having 4 shiny diamonds in their insignia, they still need to keep up their picture-perfect workaholic persona despite not having slept for 4 days, stressing over the looming chance that the Grand Navy majors may discover the commander's administrative slip-up that caused a chain of negative events that caused an innocent island town to be bombed. The commander is also in charge of memorizing every lieutenant's birthday. The Commodore is what happens when a commander does his job right. Boasting a shiny star in his insignia means that the Commodore has successfully entered Grand Navy royalty. Commodores are usually placed in charge of Grand Navy bases and are expected to defend them with their lives. Everything that a Grand Navy Commodore receives is handed on a silver platter, whether it be custom-made weapons, finely tailored fashion, or the most exquisite foods known to the War Seas. They're like a miniature king, but their job is not as comfy as you would expect. Every day means a looming potential that the outpost will get attacked, and if a Grand Navy base would fall into capture by enemies and the Commodore is still alive, they will be executed on the spot. A Rear-Admiral is a trusted member of the Grand Navy, an extremely powerful individual who has dedicated most of their extended mage life to upholding peace and combating piracy. Usually being a lost magic user, Rear-Admirals are placed in charge of much bigger and more extravagant Grand Navy bases called strongholds. These strongholds act as a major headquarters and sends orders to smaller Grand Navy bases. The Rear-Admiral position is mainly administrative, but very rarely a Rear-Admiral is required to get into combat, and when they do, it's never a pretty story. Blackreach Island is an island that tells the story of the final fight of the Grand Navy from the major pirate threat that dominated the Bronze Sea. Blackreach was originally an ancient temple, transformed into a pirate hideout for one of the major pirate gangs that poisoned the War Seas, led by notorious pirate lord Captain Fulk, an ancient lightning conjurer. Blackreach was well defended with its unique topography, allowing pirates to hide in the labyrinth on the inside, whilst also firing at the mortars at the Grand Navy fleets nearby that were ordered to eliminate the pirates. Fulk's crew sunk 3 battalions through his clever use of artillery, whilst hiding in the caves to avoid getting shelled from the retaliating Grand Navy artillery, which explains why Blackreach Island is covered with craters. The plan was to blockade the island to starve the pirates from the resources, planning to storm the labyrinth a few months later. And when the time came, the Grand Navy led an assault commanded by Grand Navy Major Donovan, who unfortunately perished under Fulk's ancient lightning-imbued blade. Angered by Donovan's death, Rear-Admiral Rooks engaged Fulk, critically wounding him and forcing him to retreat. A few days later, both perished from their wounds. A Grand Navy Admiral is basically like an Astorian king, except they are required to bear the burden of doing all the kingdom's political work. They play a major administrative role in deciding the future of the kingdom and act as a seat in parliament, making decisions alongside the Admiral King. Admirals are usually Astorian nobles blessed with powerful magic. The task of an admiral is to establish and maintain laws in the Grand Navy, using a democratic process where all other admirals have their say in the meeting, with the Admiral King making the laws final. Very rarely is an admiral required for combat, only risking their lives if the kingdom is attacked or if a powerful foe is going to get executed, and the kingdom needs one of their most powerful hands to help guard the trial. The King Admiral is the highest position of the Grand Navy. The Grand Navy was formerly known as the Astorian Kingdom and was transformed into a military stratocracy after pirates murdered the first Admiral King's parents. Yeah, I know it's lazy writing, but how else is the game going to have a justice system? The task of the Admiral King is to do basically nothing. All of the administrative work is done by the admirals. And the Admiral King is just there to serve the people and act as a symbol of justice. Think of the admirals as shoguns and the Admiral King as the emperor. Executioners are religious symbols of judgment who withhold the ancient Astorian tradition of execution. Wearing Astorian ritual helmets, they are tasked with the most grueling and dangerous work of performing the Astorian execution ritual, dealing with extremely dangerous criminals on a daily basis. Executioners are always accompanied by Grand Navy soldiers, with in some rare cases, needing administrative ranks to guard the ritual in case a very powerful criminal is being executed. A Grand Navy fleet cannot work without their shipwright. Usually there are Marines in the engineering department. They spend most of their days fixing and performing maintenance checks on Grand Navy ships. Junior shipwrights usually spend their career on a Grand Navy patrol ship, often developing a sentimental relationship with said ship, which poses a huge problem when the ship docks in a Navy base and a senior shipwright needs to do repairs on the ship. When a junior shipwright has done a year of service, they are given an apprentice role to become a senior shipwright, which forces them to do maintenance on boats at a Grand Navy harbor, requiring them to be able to repair even more boats of different sizes and models. Most junior shipwrights refuse to take this promotion because they refuse to service a ship that isn't their personal boat waifu. Receptionists are usually stationed at Grand Navy bases and in individual Grand Navy posts. These receptionists are tasked with, well, doing receptionist work. These non-combatant members act as the first point of contact in a Grand Navy building and are responsible for greeting visitors, managing letter deliveries, scheduling appointments, and managing seaman paychecks with their newspaper subscriptions. Yeah, assuming that Grand Navy bases receive mail. Arcane Odyssey and its community has not added any judge NPCs, but I'm adding this as a Grand Navy role because in Silverhold there's a judge hall, which obviously indicates that the Astorian kingdom has judges and juries. Judges have expert legal knowledge, obviously having studied at a prestigious Warsea law school, except 99% of Grand Navy trials result in incarcerations, since most pirates have no access to a lawyer and are unable to read, so there's not really any point to have a trial courtroom. A strict uniform policy cannot be maintained without a personalized tailor to every Grand Navy outpost. Usually an individual who locks himself away from all human contact and prides their life over tailoring unique uniforms for all Grand Navy ranks. New Grand Navy members visit the tailor to receive their sailor uniform, and older Grand Navy members visit the tailor to get their uniforms repaired after battle. Grand Navy tailors usually receive shipments for armor pieces from Astorian blacksmiths. Since Astorian citizens pay tax to their government, uniform tailoring is completely free, which the same can't be said from foreign Marines, who receive deductions from their paychecks every time they survive a battle. A fleet cannot be run without food, and it is the Grand Navy cook's job to make sure every Marine gets their own serving of mash and slop soup. When they are not making the nastiest stews that rival prison food, they spend the rest of their time yelling at Marines who are unfortunate enough to receive cooking duty. Cooks are also tasked with pre-packing meals for boats on patrol duty. Bartenders and chefs are reserved for higher Grand Navy positions who can afford more exquisite food, usually receiving a well-balanced meal and a finely made glass of Cimmerian grape smoothie. Yeah, I assume people like me adding immersion and story to fictional factions. If you feel like I missed a potential job role, I would love to hear your discussions in the comments.